My group focuses on really imagining a new type of fiber. What we're trying to do is bridge the gap between fibers and devices, and trying to answer a question of why fibers that have been around for thousands of years haven't progressed much from a functional standpoint. Why have fibers remained literally unchanged from ancient times? What we're trying to do is trying to imagine a new kind of fiber that is as functional as a device. The types of fibers we make are different from any fibers that were made before, and I'd say three ways. First is we combine, fibers have always been made of a single material, and we're combining many different materials together into a single fiber. So, for example, semiconductors and conductors and insulators. So that's the first thing, is a combination of a number of different materials. The second thing is that we arrange the materials in very specific and elaborate architectures. And finally, what we do is we start with a macroscopic scaled up model of the fiber, which we call the preform, and we heat it up and draw it into miles of fiber. And in doing so, we reduce the cross-sectional dimensions, and the fiber becomes a functional device. So that's the process. In terms of applications or the types of attributes or properties these fibers have, we've been able to demonstrate fibers that detect light, so convert light into an electrical pulse, electrical signal. We've been able to convert or make fibers that convert acoustic signals or sound into electrical signals. We're working on different energy storage fibers, so fibers that could store energy. We've made fibers that could transmit very high powers at low losses, and those are used for surgical applications. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is change the way people think about fibers. That's what we're doing. We're imagining and then engineering a new type of fiber, a new class of fibers. We're getting people to think about fibers just like they think about devices today, sophisticated devices. We're trying to answer a question of, why have we come to expect cell phones and smartphones to advance from month to month, but these structures that surround us are pretty much stagnant from a technology standpoint. So we're changing that. Industry obviously has a very important role to play in terms of taking these ideas and scaling them and turning them into products. The first example of a product is in fact a company that I co-founded a few years back that is taking the early version of these fibers and using them for minimally invasive precision surgery. So taking these fibers and using them as a flexible scalpel to remove tumors from inside the body. And to date, somewhere between 60 and 70,000 patients have been treated with these fibers. Now that example is that of using the same ideas of fibers that have multiple materials and a very specific geometry to conduct high-powered lasers that are used as a flexible scalpel, so for cutting inside the body. So that's one example of interaction with the industry. There also are some very important large corporations that are thinking or imagining products coming out that are going to turn clothes into much more sophisticated instruments and devices. One of the fascinating things about fibers in general is that they're surrounding us. Our clothes are made of fibers, and so each one of us is walking around with a few square meters of surface that really is not doing much for us. And so the big opportunity is trying to take this surface that is not doing much for us and embed function into it. And so what we could imagine is a few years from now having clothes that are highly functional, just like our cell phones or computers are. Being able to control climate, also being able to heat you when it's cold and cool you when it's hot. That's one thing. The other has to do with monitoring your body and your health. And so the paradigm today is you come annually for a checkup. And so the doctor then, conducts a few tests, and they tell you whether you're okay or not. But if you think about it, the body is living, and when disease progress, they progress quite slowly. And so it's difficult, based on a single snapshot, to figure out that something is growing. It's sort of like going outside and taking a snapshot of the grass and saying, "Do you see it grow?" Well, you don't. So what these new clothes will be able to do is take time-gated snapshots of your body and, for example, the acoustic signature of your body, and then be able to follow it as it progresses over time and pick up very subtle signals that things are going wrong and be able to communicate that to doctors. So it's a different way of thinking about medicine. It's a medicine that really is pervasive and continuous, as opposed to discrete and happening once a year. The whole notion of combining very different materials and demonstrating that different materials could be incorporated into a single fiber is an idea that came out of MIT and out of my group, about 10 years ago. So that's the first thing. And over time, there have been very important and significant breakthroughs. The first was the development of this hollow photonic band gap fiber, a fiber that has a high efficiency mirror inside that could be used to transmit high powered laser. So that was the first thing. A few years later, we were the first to combine metals, insulators, and semiconductors into a fiber and make a fiber photodetector, so a fiber that detects light. We then took those fibers and wove them into a fabric, and that fabric we showed could be used to image its surroundings. So it was a fabric that could see, or a fabric that could image like a camera. A few years later, we made a fiber that detects sound and also emits sound. And so you could now have a fabric that transmits or emits sound and also could analyze sound. So, over the years there's been some, I think, very significant and important breakthroughs, and obviously these continue.